Today on Investigate TV, a look at how safety standards are set for baby products and questions over industry influence.
I just really struggle with the conflict of interest of people who are making these decisions.
And a mom wants to make sure her daughter's death is a statistic, which she wants changed with infant sleepwear standards.
If incidents that say, hey, someone died in it or someone was found in it are not enough to at least review, that's frightening.
Investigate TV starts right now. Hello and welcome to Investigate TV. I'm Zurik. Parents say the organization that helps set regulations for thousands of products, including baby items, is at odds with safety because industry insiders have too much influence. That's because product makers are sometimes in charge of the very committees responsible for setting industry standards. Claire Raphael was only 11 months old when she took her last breath, April 24th, 2015, a day her mother will never forget.
I get to the hospital and my stepdad and a social worker were waiting for me in the emergency room doors, and I just remember screaming, "Is she alive?" And the social worker kind of shook her head.
Shayna Raphael says her daughter died after being put down for a nap at her daycare. The provider put her in an adult bed rather than a firm bed intended for a baby.
When she laid down on her side and her head rolled over, it created this air pocket in the mattress. And so Claire was rebreathing the same air in over and over again, and it became poisonous with her, and she never woke up.
Claire died on Shayna's 31st birthday. Months passed while Shayna grappled with what to do. She ultimately filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the child care provider. She settled and then took the money and donated it to the Children's Hospital that tried to save Claire.
And it just kind of continued on from there. And so went from child care advocacy to more safe sleep advocacy, and then working to see how I could help support families.
In her prevention effort, she got involved with ASTM International. It's an organization that helps set voluntary standards for all kinds of products we use every day: concrete, roofing, fabric, medical supplies, and since 1973, consumer products. That's when the Consumer Product Safety Commission, a federal government agency, asked ASTM to establish a specific consumer products committee. And under recent laws, the CPSC must use ASTM standards when enacting many regulations for toys and baby products. And if the ASTM changes safety standards, they automatically become CPSC rules, unless the Commission intervenes quickly.
Our job at CPSC to protect people from unreasonable, hazardous products is informed by the work that they do. Our statute requires us to defer to an industry-written voluntary standard as long as it's good enough to protect people and it's widely complied with. If that happens, we defer to it. We can't make our own rule. And so that's a lot of power in that process.
These standards get discussed and set after products are already in the market. Right now, Shayna is on a committee for wearable infant blankets, which is working on design and safety standards for things like swaddles. But recently there is controversy over one type of swaddle, those that are weighted. The idea is that putting some weight in a swaddle helps mimic a parent's hand or a hug and helps soothe the baby. But in practice, the American Academy of Pediatrics says they're unsafe. These doctors don't even want the ASTM committee creating a safety standard because it might send an incorrect message to parents that meeting a standard makes a product safe. Reports from parents in a corner made on the CPSC's website and our analysis of the agency's incident data show at least 8 records of babies who died wearing weighted sleep products.
The AAP, the CPSC, the NIH, they've all been very clear that weighted infant products are not safe. We're putting direct weight on even newborns' bodies right over their respiratory system, and that they should not be used.
As the wearable infant blankets ASTM committee continues weighing possible dangers, there is now a question of financial gain and who's in charge. A co-chair of the committee, Tara Williams, is also the founder of a weighted swaddle company, Dreamland Baby, a Shark Tank success story.
I can't believe I made it to your
I just really struggle with the conflict of interest of people who are making these decisions. I think that if you would directly benefit financially from a certain type of product coming through, that there should be some reflection on, hey, is it ethical?
While ASTM committees welcome industry insiders because of their expertise, the organization's bylaws require chairs to be impartial. But Shana and others have questioned if that's happening. While co-chairing the committee, Williams' company made tens of millions of dollars selling those products.
It's been a contentious process that has been a couple years in the making already.
In recent months, the CPSC added weighted sleep sacks to its safe sleep guidelines, urging parents not to use them. Senator Richard Blumenthal wrote to Williams and Dreamland Baby in December, saying he was deeply concerned by the company's decision to continue selling these products to vulnerable and unsuspecting parents, and asking questions particularly about claims the product exceeds CPSC standards, which he says don't exist because the standard isn't developed yet. In April, he followed up, saying those claims and others were removed from the company's website without explanation, and then reported Dreamland to the Federal Trade Commission.
It seems like new baby products come on the market every day.
Also in April, CPSC Commissioner Richard Trumka issued a warning and called on major retailers to stop selling them. Many did. Trumka said that his warning reiterates what safety experts have been saying for months.
Well, I've spoken to parents whose children have died in products like this. And it's my fear, it's my great fear that I never want to have a conversation with somebody else who loses a child, knowing that I had knowledge that I could have shared that would have prevented that or could have prevented that, and I didn't do it.
We're very encouraged to see the recent actions by major retailers to cease the sale of these products for which there is no peer-reviewed evidence of safety.
And he said he was unaware of any safe way to use these products. And when pediatricians speak, I pay attention.
But just recently, the co-chair of the ASTM committee and founder of Dreamland said she plans to sue the CPSC and Commissioner Trumka, saying that product warning was disparaging and caused tremendous financial losses, and accuses the commissioner of violating a law called 6B, a statute that stops the CPSC from issuing recalls for or publicly naming specific products without manufacturer consent. But Trumka's warning did not name Dreamland or any particular brands.
We're not saddled with the same restrictions under that gag rule when we talk about an entire product category. I think there was an acknowledgement in that crafting of the law that said if the entire product category poses a hazard, we need to be able to tell the American public about it.
Tara Williams, public relations representative, said she was not available for an interview, but in a statement said Dreamland Baby proudly stands behind the safety and efficacy of its gently weighted sleep sacks, which have been on the market since 2019. During that time, we have sold over 1 million sleep sacks with no reported adverse events attributed to our gently weighted sleep solutions. But in late May, a new report of a baby dying in a Dreamland weighted sleep sack was made public just days after a meeting in which another industry member of the ASTM committee told the CPSC she's concerned with how the process is going.
It is crucial to highlight that our standards should be rooted in scientific and technical merit, free from the influence of special interests. Unfortunately, this is not the case within our subcommittee and task groups.
Well, my reaction to those were that they are very serious allegations. And so I think we should take them very seriously and make sure that they're properly evaluated. I think that ASTM or the Commission should do an investigation to see what's there and to act accordingly once we figure that out.
As the ASTM continues to look at weighted sleep blankets, Shana worries babies might be in danger as the process drags on for blankets already in the market as reports are tallied.
It feels like just point straight to the lack of infant deaths. That because there aren't a large amount of infant deaths, even though there are some infant deaths linked to these products, that because there aren't enough dead infants, that we can't keep this out of the standard. And it's really upsetting to see.
Coming up, as safety committees consider new standards, they often look at the number of injuries and deaths possibly tied to products. One mother of a baby who died wearing a weighted swaddle is concerned the committee is undercounting the impact installing regulations. Welcome back to Investigate TV. A mother who lost her daughter says a committee setting industry standards for infant sleep products might be undercounting babies' injuries and deaths. We got an inside look at the process.
It's a level of greed and evil that I don't think can be remedied until it happens to them.
2 years ago, Myra Thomas Romero's baby girl, Allie, became a victim of unsafe sleep. Myra has spent the months since her daughter's death working to change safety regulations and dig into the companies that make various baby items, especially those that have been associated with injury and death, like Allie's.
My big thing is I don't understand how these companies can become millionaires off of these products, off of our children, while promising that they're safe, while promising and deceiving people like me who work every damn day 2 jobs to afford the down payment for their products, to then still brag about their products on social media.
As she's worked to make sure Allie's life counted, she's learned how easily injuries and deaths can be discounted. She joined a committee that is setting standards for infant sleepwear. Her hope to make a difference. Her reality, frustration.
I don't know that my advocacy has done anything but potentially end up with more dead children.
Allie was only 6 months old. She went to sleep in a separate room in a flat bed like this, with raised sides. It was positioned on the floor. She was wearing a weighted infant sleep sack, a popular product because the weighted pocket is advertised as a soothing tool for babies, the pressure like a mother's touch. But Allie was found unresponsive and died at the hospital. Myra's advocacy is now concentrated on her work with setting standards. She's on a subcommittee for infant wearable blankets, a part of an organization called ASTM International. That group helps set voluntary safety standards for companies that make all kinds of products, from building materials to consumer products. Often those standards are used in creating public policy through the Consumer Product Safety Commission, or CPSC.
Our law requires us to defer our rulemaking authority to the voluntary standards groups if they can come up with a rule that is good and is complied with. The only problem comes in when things take a long time or it comes back as a half measure, and then we need to evaluate whether we still need to do something on top of that.
Right now, the ASTM committee is considering voluntary regulations about weighted infant sleepwear, like the one Allie was wearing the night she died. The American Academy of Pediatrics is so concerned about this product category, it doesn't even want standards set here because it might give the impression the product is in any way safe. The doctors group says categorically it is not. The committee, made of industry insiders, consumers, and others, is deciding what the industry should require of designs. And as part of that process is looking at data about kids who have been injured or have died.
And they still would not count my daughter as what I said, having died wearing one.
We have the industry telling us in this particular case they have no incidents. And yet we know of incidents. There's consumers in the room who've had incidents. And so we really rely on CPSC data to be able to cut through, to understand what the issues are, and to take aggressive action.
When we have information at the agency and our experts analyze it, I trust that analysis. I know that their motivation is to analyze it down the line and do whatever after that we can to advance safety. And I question whether you hand that over, not in this instance, but in any of these instances, to an industry that sells the products that could be regulated by what comes out of the analysis. What motivations do they have when they're looking at that? And do you get the same results?
Our national investigative team obtained numerous records related to sleepwear incidents and the reports the ASTM committee uses to tally babies who should and shouldn't be counted when considering how to regulate weighted sleepers. This is the CPSC report, with company names all redacted because of a federal law restricting the agency from releasing that detail, even to the very committee trying to set a safety standard. And these are the internal spreadsheets confirmed by multiple members being used by the committee to tally injuries and deaths. In the hazard analysis, members say they are only counting one incident and one death tied to a weighted sleep sack. But in our analysis of public records, we found 8 reports of deaths involving weighted sleepwear.
If incidents that say, hey, someone died in it or someone was found in it are not enough to at least review, that's frightening.
Shana Raphael, another mom and member of the ASTM subcommittee, questions why members are interpreting data and doing hazard analysis at all.
When they are manufacturers or textile specialists, they are not forensic pathologists, and it is wildly inappropriate for them to decide on their own what the contributing factors were for infant death or why not they should be on the fatality or incident chart. I think that that's incredibly problematic.
This issue of manufacturers' interest playing a role in safety protocol isn't new. In fact, it's a pattern those involved in this current wave of infant safety find eerily similar to other standards set years ago, involving inclined sleepers and the now recalled Fisher-Price Rock and Play. That product tied to over 100 deaths since 2012, a number only revealed recently through congressional hearings.
Anytime we have infant deaths in a product, I am terrified that we might have the next Rock and Play on our hands, and I like to act as quickly as I possibly can within the law to address any hazard in that space.
I don't understand how after Rock and Play there was no movement, but I know that Congress is very hesitant to disrupt the market in any way.
In recent meetings, critics of weighted blankets have referenced the similarities to inclined sleepers, like Fisher-Price's products.
The recurrence of historical tragedies, such as the instances of unnecessary deaths associated with inclined sleepers.
The CPSC added weighted swaddles to its list of products that should not be used with infant sleep, but it has faced backlash from the industry. One commissioner even accused of violating the law after asking retailers to stop selling all weighted sleep sacks. Though Myra is dismayed by her experience, she continues to fight and is hopeful the CPSC will help make sure Allie's death is a statistic.
Because usually I'm so defeated and worried about what I'm going to do the next day or how, because there's no consulting firms for people like me. So, but there's commissioners. There's consumer advocates there. So.
The Consumer Product Safety Commission released new data in June. It shows 397 incident reports involving infant sleepwear. Most of those reports involved deaths, but the agency refused to say how many of those named weighted sleepwear. Welcome back to Investigate TV. The Consumer Product Safety Commission has received hundreds of reports of glass oven doors exploding without warning. The majority of modern ovens use tempered glass, which is manufactured in extremely high temperatures and then rapidly cooled, a process that makes it 4 times stronger than regular glass. However, tempered glass can still shatter, and when it does, it tends to do so suddenly and violently. Reporter Susan Campbell in Arizona examines what's causing glass doors to shatter and why they can be even more frustrating to fix.
The kitchen is one of Nicole Sanchez's favorite places with her kids. They talk.
And it was a spider.
They laugh. And they used to bake together. But not anymore.
All of a sudden I hear this boom. And I'm like, what on earth is that? I go run into the kitchen. I slide on the glass.
It took her a minute to realize what had actually happened.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, our oven just exploded. Glass flew as far as behind the fridge. It came into here. I mean, it was just like a big boom, an explosion of hot glass.
These are some of the pieces of that shattered oven door.
It's a Frigidaire. We've had it for about 3 years. I called them. They said, oh, it's not in warranty anymore, so there's nothing we can do. It's considered cosmetic. And I'm like, hold on. Cosmetic is like a scratch. Cosmetic is not hot flying glass that explodes in your kitchen.
According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the agency has received 450 reports of oven door shattering from 2019 through 2021. And a review of more recent reports on saferproducts.gov reveals a slew of additional complaints, many of them involving Frigidaire models.
We were using the oven in the way it was meant to be used, and the front door exploded.
Frigidaire's parent company, Electrolux, said it takes safety seriously and said all products comply with household cooking standards. According to the company, glass failures are infrequent, but can be caused by imperfections in the glass or damage that happened during use.
It doesn't say anything in any of the manuals online or the one that I have that the glass could actually explode. So I think there definitely needs to be a recall or at least a warning issued to people.
In a statement, the CPSC said while CPSC has not issued recalls or warnings on shattering oven doors in recent years, we do take all incidents involving shattered glass seriously, adding no severe injuries beyond stitches were reported.
Tempered glass is very strong, but when it does fail like this, it can explode in these, into lots of many pieces. And even though it's intended not to cause lacerations, it certainly does.
Sean Kane is the founder of Safety Research and Strategies, which advocates for consumer safety. He says recalls are difficult to initiate.
Especially with something like this, because there's this intermingling of where does the defect originate from? Is it in the design, the manufacturing, or is it something that happened afterward?
I was standing like this.
Nicole can't help but think about the what ifs.
And the scary part about that is that my little guy was just looking in the window about 10 minutes before this happened. So it's really scary to think what could have happened if his face would have been in the window when the glass exploded.
Welcome back to Investigate TV. It's one of the most important things you can do, and yet many Americans haven't started it, saving for your retirement. Rachel DePompa shows us why better late than never applies to saving for your golden years in this week's Watching Your Wallet.
According to NerdWallet, the average household retirement savings for people ages 55 to 64 is $408,000. While the earlier the better is true for investing, our partners at the financial website NerdWallet say it's never too late to begin. 20 plus years to invest toward retirement is still enough time to enjoy the benefits of compound interest. To do this, you need to add a line to your monthly budget for savings. Pay yourself first. If your employer offers retirement benefits like a 401k, don't leave money on the table. Get the employer match if they offer one, and try to increase your contributions each year. Another trick, use raises or bonuses as opportunities to increase your retirement savings. And if you don't have an employer-sponsored retirement program, or you've already maxed out your account, another option would be to open a traditional individual retirement account, also known as an IRA.
And that's it for us. Thanks for joining us here on Investigate TV. Hope to see you next week.